Who is the bankruptcy trustee and what do they actually do? I'm here with Luke Homen, one of the top filers in Oklahoma. It's been in thousands of bankruptcy trustee meetings, 341s. Luke, help us dissect this.
Yeah. So let's start by focusing on a Chapter 7 bankruptcy trustee because there's different chapters and different trustees, but most people we're dealing with a Chapter 7 trustee. The Chapter 7 trustee is a private attorney. This is not a judge. This is not a government employee. This is somebody supervised and appointed by the Department of Justice to do a job. But at the end of the day, they are a private attorney, not a judge. So they take positions, they represent the creditors as a whole. They don't represent any one creditor. They represent what we call the bankruptcy estate. And the trustee is sort of looking after justice, but not as a judge, and looking after the creditors, but not any one creditor. So it's a very unique and interesting person.
Now, are they typically a bankruptcy attorney when you say they're a private
Yes.
attorney?
So they come from all manners of walks in life. Technically, the trustee doesn't even have to be an attorney.
Hmm.
There are some parts of the country where trustees aren't all attorneys. You could be an accountant, especially in Chapter 11. A lot of our sub 5 Chapter 11 trustees are accountants. And there's parts of the country where a lot of the trustees aren't even attorneys. They are reputable, qualified professionals, probably an accountant, probably something similar, maybe a paralegal, but somebody who the government chose to be a trustee. Now, in Oklahoma, they're all attorneys, but that's not the case everywhere.
So basically, they're a third party who they're looking and trying to make things fair for everybody. For fair for the debtor based on the bankruptcy laws, the debtor meaning the client, and then fair for the creditors
Right.
who are, losing a lot of their loans or whatever through
Yeah,
bankruptcy.
and what they're looking for is they're also looking for abuse of the bankruptcy system.
Hmm.
The bankruptcy trustee is sort of the eyes and the ears of the government. They're the first responders, if you will, of the bankruptcy system. And so if they see something that's flagrant or abusive, well, it's their job to call that out. And maybe they address that with the debtor attorney, maybe they address it with the judge or the U.S. trustee program, but they're looking for abuse. And that's very different than looking for people who are poor, because that's what most people that file bankruptcy are, right? They're just out of money.
Well, I think this is interesting because this abuse conversation, you know, eh, like everyone's worried about a gotcha moment, right, with the trustee. And abuse in reality, as I mean, I'd like your opinion on this, but it's very rare, right? Like,
Yeah, so I have had one case that I can think of that really got challenged for abuse of the bankruptcy system. We filed a case for a guy who qualified for a Chapter 7. Well, shortly after we filed his case, he got appointed as vice president of an oil company. Now, all of a sudden, he's making a tremendous, terrific amount of money. Um, did he qualify for Chapter 7? Yes. Did the trustee view that as an abuse of the bankruptcy system? Yeah, he was making an incredible amount of money. So, sure,
so he
what we did,
he filed a Chapter 7 under like a means test.
yeah, he passed the means test because the means test looks back 6 months. And
Okay.
in the last 6 months, he had a failing business. He wasn't doing well. It was all kinds of broke. Well, right around the time he filed bankruptcy, got this amazing, high paying, high powered, couple $100,000 a year job. And so what we did, real quick version, is the US trustee said, okay, well, how about you just convert to Chapter 13?
Okay.
So we did. So he went to Chapter 13, made payments on his debts because all of a sudden he can afford it.
Could afford,
But
yeah.
oil industry, he lost his job about a year and a half later, and we converted into a Chapter 7 and got a discharge.
Okay.
But that is the only case where I have actually dealt with an abuse because we had somebody who, quite honestly, he could afford to pay his debts at that point.
I mean, the practicality, so 1 out of thousands, and that's the reality.
Yeah.
The lens that trustees are looking at, they're not assuming abuse,
No, no,
right?
no. You
It
know, the bankruptcy system is designed for that honest but unfortunate debtor. That's the catchphrase that we use all the time. So what you're looking for is somebody who's not honest and unfortunate.
yeah,
My oil guy, he was completely honest,
yeah.
but he wasn't all that unfortunate anymore. He was now very wealthy. Um, Otherwise, you're also looking for dishonesty. So honest but unfortunate, that's just about everybody who files bankruptcy.
Yeah. I mean, we know bankruptcy is caused by loss of job, some type of medical event, car accident, something like that. That's overwhelmingly what's happened. And the number of people that game the system is so small, right?
It's so small.
And the law is set up where you can't file bankruptcy over and over and over. I mean, there's structures in place, so it's hard to manipulate. But my most important thing is, what do bankruptcy trustees do? Like, to the point of this video, they're analyzing the third party. What's fair for the creditor? What's fair for the client, the debtor, right?
And then other really important thing
Yeah,
is the bankruptcy trustee can also administer money. So let's say that the trustee gets some money. All right. Well, now their job is to accept proof of claims, review claims, who should get the various pennies. Because the creditors usually aren't getting paid in full, they're getting paid a nickel on the dollar, something like that. And so 10 cents on the dollar, who knows? So the trustee has to get all these claims, review it, submit reports, get an order from the judge, and say, okay, you got $5,000. 600 goes to this creditor, 700 goes to that creditor, 5 cents goes over here.
got it.
And so that's the other half of the trustee's job is collect money, distribute money, follow court orders, follow procedures there.
And the payments happen more, is it right, in the 13? Where the third
Right. So in the 13, there's always going to be a payment. But in the Chapter 7 land, sometimes the trustee is administering asset. If they're administering an asset, that's when they get money, and that money will eventually have to be distributed pursuant to a court order.
Okay,
The trustee is the one writing those checks at the end of the case once they get an order from the judge telling them where the checks should go.
got it. One last question, just so we're clear, how often does the debtor connect with the trustee? Like, how often is this happening?
Yeah. So in every single case, there is something called the 341 section meeting of the creditors. We call it a court appearance, but it's really not because you're not in front of a judge. It's a Zoom meeting and it's with the trustee. The trustee is running this hearing and asking questions. For just about every case, that's the only time that the debtor is directly interacting with the trustee.
And how long is that interaction?
So, usually for the average case, it's about 3 to 4 minutes of questioning.
Wow. So an entire bankruptcy. Clients are all worried about the trustee, what's gonna
Yeah.
happen, and they're talking to him for 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
the trustee, not the judge. If
yeah,
you're talking to the trustee, they're asking their questions. It's 3, 4 minutes. Maybe it's six. It's
yeah.
usually 3 or 4.
That's amazing. Luke, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom, and we will keep having you on to talk more about bankruptcy law, bankruptcy meetings, various things around consumer bankruptcy.
Thanks for having me.